Welcome to Two Main Friends. We're your hosts,
Natasha
and Lindsey.
Grab your coffee and come sit with us for a bit. Hey.
Hey. I get the Sunday scaries. I like my job, but I still get the Sunday scaries. People who say, like, oh, if you love your job, you won't have the Sunday scaries. That's not true. Well, at least not for me. It's not true. I don't want to go to work tomorrow. I just want to extend the weekend.
Same. So I'm off for the summer. I finished my job on Friday and I still have a busy week ahead of me with a lot of other things going on. So it doesn't really feel like I'm not working. And so I also don't want to do the things tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
have a very busy, like, post work week too. So
Hmm.
I'm going to be working for 8 hours and then socializing, which I am excited to do the socializing part because getting to know coworkers. We're going out on Monday. Tuesday, I have something going on after work. Wednesday, I have dinner with a friend. Thursday, dinner. Friday, seeing someone off. It's just a very busy, like, I think I'll slow down on Saturday next weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. Except, so we have something. So tomorrow my son has a dance class he's trying out for the first time. So that's tomorrow. Tuesday might not be anything. I could be forgetting. Or my husband has something, so who knows. Um, Wednesday we have church, and then Thursday, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Friday we have something, and then Saturday is I'm hosting a women's garden party and I'm super pumped about it. Um, so I won't be resting on Saturday either. So I think it's going to be Monday next week.
Oh, nice. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So if you were to have to answer, which you're going to, because I'm going to ask, if your battery, your life battery today, worked like a cell phone, what would your battery percentage be at?
Somewhere between 2 and 5%, I think. I feel pretty
Yeah.
drained today, so I don't have much to offer you.
I would give myself about a 10% when we get off here. It's going to be throw some laundry in and then crash out to some TV, probably.
That sounds great.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna make it
that's so
through. I
cool.
have to make dinner, get my kids ready for their very last day of school tomorrow, and also just crash.
Isn't it silly the last day of school on a Monday? I used to always, when I was in school, think that was so weird that we would do that.
And it's not even a full day. They're going in
Mhm.
for like school starts at 8:30, so they have to be there before 8:30, and they're getting dismissed at 11:30. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing this for?
Yeah.
Like,
It's
let's
crazy.
just call Friday what it was, and then it's over. So
Yeah.
it's fine. I
That's
love our
fair.
school and we love the staff. So it's nothing against them. I just don't understand the scheduling of the school board,
The
I
things.
guess. Yeah,
Yes, that's
it doesn't
fair.
make sense.
That's fair. Well, today we're wrapping up our 4-part series and we are jumping into capacity in friendship. And I love this topic because I think that we talk a lot about the seasons of friendship or life individually, and capacity plays a huge part of that and what you have capacity for.
It's true. And I'm thankful for this conversation as well because I think that we can only be better the more that we make it normal to talk about capacity. And I didn't really
Mhm.
understand this conversation until I walked through my own stuff in life and realized that capacity plays a huge part. And when you don't have capacity, what you can do is limited. And then when you're operating at full capacity, you have a lot more to offer and you have more bandwidth and all of that. But there's so many things that play into that. And I think it's important that we talk about it out loud because we're all juggling so many things. And so there's a piece of it that we have to remember we can't operate if we don't have it. We can't give what we don't have. And if we don't have an awareness of what our capacity's at. Like I like our starting question for that reason. Like sometimes we just have to start with recognizing I have 2% in my battery capacity right now. Um, and so I'm excited to dive into this because I think it's an important conversation that we can learn and grow from.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so the first part of this is we have bandwidth and recognizing that you don't have bandwidth. But also in friendship, like recognizing when our friends don't have bandwidth is
Mhm.
important,
Yeah.
and being able to tell those signs, but also not being afraid to share that we don't have the bandwidth, because I may not know. You may present excited and ready to go, but at the end of the day, you're like, this is the last thing I want to be doing right now. And it feels more like an obligation than something you're looking forward to.
Yeah. And it's important, right? Like we have to begin to be comfortable with saying those things out loud. Like,
Hmm.
hey, I would love to join you for dinner tonight, but can we rain check? Like I just don't have it in me. And
Hmm.
learning to be okay with that. Like there's no hidden message behind it. It's not because I'm ditching you to go out with somebody else, um, or that I don't enjoy your company. It's just I don't have capacity for dinner. Or maybe offering, hey, I don't have capacity to do dinner out, but you want to come sit on my couch and we can watch a trash TV show together? Like, because maybe that's all we have, but yet we still want to spend quality time together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to remember that no is just an honest answer. It's not a rejection. Like it's just where that person's at for the day, and it's okay if they're rain checking or changing plans. It took me a long time. I was probably well into my 30s before I was comfortable with that, with somebody changing plans. I already struggle with that in my own, like when things get changed and I'm looking forward to them. Like I'm like, oh, I'm sad about it, and like it's
Sure.
more of an emotional response, I guess. But I was probably well in my 30s when I realized like they're not rejecting me, just they don't have the time or the capacity to do that, and things changed, and it's okay. And I
Yeah.
think on the other end of that is being okay with saying no and not feeling like the person is going to think that you're rejecting them, because the people pleaser in me doesn't like to say no or change plans, because then you have the guilt of turning down the invitation, which then causes a little bit more of an overwhelming feeling. And so then you're
Mm.
spiraling even harder.
Yeah. And I think, turning somebody down or saying when you're overwhelmed, like I always just think about those moments when I'm already stressed about something and I feel like something has to give and I have to drop something, but I don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes sending that text and I don't do that often with people. I usually try to like finagle something else. But if I do have a friend or a person that is a safe person that I can do this with. I've done it where I've been like, I'm so sorry. Like, I can't make it tonight. And I don't like to do that. It's not something that I try to make a habit of, but sometimes you have to because if you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed or, there's just too many things happening all at the same time. And I run into that I feel like a lot. And um having a safe friendship where like it's going to be okay to say I don't have the bandwidth for that today. Like we're juggling 17 things over here and I'm so sorry. Can we please reschedule? And it does feel icky in the moment. But also the relief of okay, I have one less thing on my plate. Now let's go tackle the 17 other things I'm working on and try to figure out how to make this work, right? And I mean, that's all of life, isn't it? Like we're just trying to figure it out. So more times than not, I don't think it's ever coming from a place of harm or dislike for the other people. It's just I don't have the bandwidth for this. There's too much on my plate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair. And then that makes me think, though, too, like we get into the topic of bandwidth, and I'm going to go a little off the rails. There also is that time where you have to decide that you've put them off so long that you have to sometimes find the bandwidth, right? Like
Hmm.
they're to nurture the relationship, because if you constantly are putting them off because you don't have the bandwidth, because you have 5,000 other things coming in, then that person does start to kind of feel like, well, our friendship isn't any sort of priority. Where I'm not at the top, which that's fine. Probably most friendships aren't at the top when you have family and life and career and anything really going on. There's other things that
Yeah.
take priority, but then you start to feel like you're at the bottom of that barrel in that
Mm.
friendship, and you're kind of the last thought of reason. And so then that can start to cause those friendships to separate. So I think when we talk about capacity, we have to talk about balance. Like there has to be both.
Oh, absolutely. And I wouldn't say to like make it a habit, right? Like you have that one safe friend that you're comfortable to be like, "Hey, pal, I can't meet up tonight. Like I'm so sorry."
Mhm.
Right? Like
Yeah.
but again, like that shouldn't be the norm,
Hmm.
that's like an extenuating circumstance, right? Um,
Hmm.
and I think you're right. There does have to be balance because it does fall really quickly. Like it's a slippery slope. I feel like I've said that a lot this season. But it's just it's true though. Like some things can snowball. But just learning to, I think at the end of the day, just being honest. Like, hey, I'm really sorry I overbooked myself and I don't have the capacity for this today, right? And trying to figure out what that balance is, and not, and maybe don't do it to the same person several times in a row, right? Like try,
Maybe also like have a date ready. Like if you know that you need to cancel or something, maybe say, hey, can we rain check for next Thursday? What's your schedule look like? Or just
yeah,
have a day that you think you might be free and able to do it. But truly, like, don't give a date if you don't know that you're going to have a date available to do it, because then
right,
you're just back into that habit of canceling. So,
right, right.
and different seasons of life cause different capacities, and we all handle what we're walking through and the life that we're living differently.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think having grace on that too, and understanding just because I'm not there doesn't mean that that's where they are.
Mm-hmm.
um, you might be the world's greatest balancer and have the balancing act of the season that you're in down packed, and that's great.
Yeah,
um, but then your friend next to you might not. So just kind of being understanding to that, and understanding that different life stages can create distance sometimes, but love remains. And so maybe they don't have the capacity to do the physical, but like you said, maybe it's watching trash TV, or maybe it's just those texts during the week checking in on you and stuff, because they do still care, but they just don't have the time to physically show that they care.
yeah. And when you're talking about just remembering, like, and having grace for the seasons that we're in, we've never been here before. And
Right.
that's something that my husband and I say to each other like pretty often. And it's a really good reminder to like recalibrate and just like take a step back for a second and be like, listen, never experienced this day before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like elements of the day might be the same, but like we've
Sure.
never been in this state of our relationship. We've never been, tackling the things that we're tackling. We've never, and you can insert all the things about your life. We've just never done this before. I've never been a 35-year-old until this year, right? Like I
Right.
don't know what that's supposed to look like. Um, we can gather things, right? We can take things from like people have gone before us um and kind of learn and glean from that. But me as a person, I've never been here before. And if we
Mhm.
remember that about each other, then I hope that that would help us have grace for each other too, because you've never been where you are before, right? Like and so I think that helps us keep that in a good perspective, that we've just
Mhm.
never been here before. So they canceled and I'm disappointed, and it's okay to feel disappointed. Um, but like you said, love remains, and I still love this person, and I want the best for them, and we'll hang out when the next chance comes around.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, like, understanding capacity is different when you are walking through different seasons of life. Like, obviously, our season is different. You're married, you have children. I'm not married, I don't have children. And that can be a challenge of relating to each other in our daily activities. It can cause distance in friendships because of that. For me, often I feel like the extra friend when conversations revolve around children. I
Mm,
tend to remove myself from those settings. I have made it in the past few years just because it makes me uncomfortable. A priority of mine so that I don't feel that way, to not hang out with several groups of people with kids, because the conversation always goes to that. And so then I kind of just feel awkward and like the extra wheel.
mm,
So I remove myself from those group hangouts because I don't feel comfortable in them. Not because anybody has made me feel uncomfortable. It's just I can't relate to any of the conversation, so I don't show up to those. And that's just for me. That's my capacity. That's what I can handle for right now. And so you kind of just feel a little left out, and a little full transparency on that piece. Like you don't feel included in the conversation, and then you kind of leave feeling discouraged. So is it maybe not me connecting with people? Sure. But at the same time, I'm not draining my battery trying to keep up with the conversation. So
That's
For me,
fair.
that's my
Yeah.
balance on that part of it.
Yeah. Um, I think it's also important to just like remember, and I think for us, I'll say us as in like the people that are married with children to like be mindful of those conversations because I've been in groups of people where like half of the group has kids and the other half doesn't, and so those of us that have kids will start that conversation because that's a big part of our life right now. um
Yeah.
but I also know like I'm a little bit more mindful when we're in those group settings of like how long that conversation lasts because I'm aware of the fact that half of the people there don't have kids. And so I think that's important to keep in mind, and I'm grateful that you shared that so that you know we can work on making sure that everyone feels included so that you don't feel like you have to be removed from it because we're at different stages of life.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think for me, that was just something that I learned for myself, that I would walk away from those group settings and just kind of feel like, don't really feel like I fit this crowd anymore. And so then, you just kind of try to find the places that you can fit in and then in the conversation. And sometimes that just means a smaller setting with those people. Um, or maybe it's not the full family outings, it's the one-on-ones and things like that that are a little bit more comfortable. I think too, being in like the different seasons that way, you have to be careful not to make the parents feel judged and the non-parents feeling overlooked, like you were saying. And so like
Mhm.
there's balance on both sides of that.
Yeah. And I think that just kind of goes with like what you do as a group. Like if you're out with a bunch of people, like being mindful of like maybe this time we don't bring our kids along and we do like an adult activity or and
Mhm.
just trying to like be mindful of like, hey, this time we get together is, going to be more family oriented so that the people without kids know like we're, going to a family friendly restaurant,
Mhm.
uh, that kind of thing so that it kind of balances out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think making sure that you stay curious about the experiences that you don't share. And so, like, as a friend without kids, like, asking about the kids. Like, I love hearing about your boys and what they're doing and how they're doing. I love having conversations with them as they grow up. And I have said this to you before, your oldest is one of the smartest kids and funniest kids that I know. Like, he just whips out some of the funniest things. But then, like, he knows so many random facts about things. I'm like,
It's true.
wow, where'd you get that? you know?
I
And so,
ask
like,
that
just
all the time.
where'd that come from? But just like making sure that you're staying curious about those things to keep those relationships building at the same time, I think is important. And vice versa for, a family oriented friend to their childless friend. Making sure that you're asking about like what they're doing and what their hobbies are and, if they have a partner, what they're up to, or what the weekend looks like. What did you enjoy? What went well? What didn't go well this week? And staying curious about each other.
Yeah. And that I feel like that's such a good point to make because I think it's easier sometimes to like default to like the kid conversation, right? Like whether it's on purpose or not, because that's just so much of like I'll say my life, right? Like there's a lot going on
Mhm.
with them. But on the flip side, like you said, being curious about what you're up to and the things that you're doing. Um,
Yeah.
and being inclusive in that way and not just
Mhm.
defaulting to everything being about what my kids have done. Um,
Yeah.
and I do appreciate like you've done a great job of like always wanting to be a part of like what they're learning about or growing. Um, but I think that it is important too, like you said, to be curious about where the other person's at too.
Yeah. Well, like obviously we were friends in a lot of stages of life.
Hmm.
Pre-marriage for you is when we got to know each other.
Hmm.
And then marriage, kids, like I've watched you through all those stages of life. You've watched me through move to Florida, move back to Maine, get into a good career, leave that career, go into, and so
Right.
like there's been all these stages and I think we had to stay curious because there was always something changes. But like in this season, you're always 100% a mom. From the day that you had your first
Mhm.
child, you were 100% a mom, and that won't change. But you're also 100% Natasha. And so you're not just a mom. That's not just what shapes you. You're 100% that, sure. But then
Mhm.
there's always so much more about you too. And we are always changing too. And it's not just stay curious about um, the right now, but like, who are you evolving into? What are you
Mhm.
changing? Because we're definitely not the same people we were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 1 year ago. Our
Mhm.
perceptions change. We we have the same, I would say, values and like core values,
Mhm.
but how we interpret those values have changed over the years, and
Mhm.
how we look at things have changed over the years,
Mhm.
perspectives, and how we incorporate them into our life has changed. So I think that that's the part about staying curious is, well, why do you feel that way now? Like, what changed about those things
Mhm.
and how you're applying it to today?
Yeah. We talked about a lot about this last night at dinner, and
Mhm.
just like, viewing life now versus like what we expected it to be, and
Mhm.
coming to terms with that, and like how different it really is playing
Yeah.
out than what our expectations, or maybe our idea of what we thought it might be. And
Mhm.
like that does change a lot about how you live out your life when all those things shift and it
Mhm.
changes. And life is just an interesting thing.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's always shifting, it's always changing. And we're always, we're always growing and learning. So I think it's important to remember that about our friends and not just look at them from the scope of the physical of what we see in the day to day.
Mhm.
Like you're a parent, like I go to work and work my career, or that I live alone. Like those things don't shape who we are.
Right. And I think that we
Yeah.
kind of get lost in that sometimes. Like we're so
Mhm.
defined in our society by the things that we do, that we
Mhm.
forget that we're people first. And like you said, like there's so many other aspects to life than being defined by your career. Like there's so much more
Mhm.
to who you are as a person, Lindsay, than by like the job title that you have, right? And
Right.
we can get so caught up in like, because that's usually the first question we ask people. Hey, what do you do? Right? When you're getting to know
Mhm.
someone. Or
Mhm.
if it's like mom to mom, like how many kids do you have? What's your nighttime routine? And so
Yeah.
like those are the things that we get wrapped up in. And I'm not saying that's bad, but like you were
Mhm.
saying, there's just so much more to who we are as people, that
Mhm.
we also should take a step back and look at this full scope of all of life, not just the one aspect that is either the most time consuming or maybe the most talked about, because it is the most time consuming.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's why moms struggle sometimes too, because we forget that we're a person outside of caring for all of the little people we're in charge of, right? And
Mhm.
um and I think that's why sometimes moms can struggle with the things that they carry, because we forgot. We forgot that we like painting our nails and, you know,
Mhm.
going out for coffee,
Yeah.
um and we have to remember, like,
Mhm.
I do like watching rom-coms from the 90s,
Yeah.
and that's okay, and that's good, because
Yeah.
we're still showing that to our kids, but we can't show them if we're not living it. So,
Right. No, and I think that that's important too as they get older because they need to know that they're more than the little things that they find to find them, and the things
right.
that, that they know that there's so much more out there, and it's okay to evolve, and it's okay to be curious about the world
Yeah,
and grow. Yeah. So,
for
and I
sure.
think that that also teaches them that friendships will change, and you might lose them in the seasons, right? Like if I had known that, might have lessened a lot of hurt from friendships that didn't work out, but not because they didn't work out because things went south, but just they didn't work out. Things change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I And that's a hard lesson to learn.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
we've all experienced that in different seasons or another. And I think helping the next generation understand it
Hmm.
earlier, so that, or at least be prepared. Maybe not
Hmm. Doesn't
understand,
mean it
but
won't hurt. Yeah.
right. Like we can't protect them from that, but at least be prepared to be like, it's okay to let them go. It's okay to embrace new friendships and based on the season that you're living, and that's okay.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then ghosting is such a common thing in today's society. I thankfully, when I hit the dating market, didn't fall into this. Like, I didn't get ghosted. Everybody always showed up for their dates. That would have been a huge blow to my ego. I'm not gonna lie. But I also only went on like 3 dates. Let's be real, because that was just not my scene of online dating. So I got over that real fast. But I think it happens in friendship too, where like you just stop. And we talked about that, where like things don't really go south, they don't really go bad. You don't really know why it happened. They just kind of stopped. Definitely have been ghosted in that sense of life before with
Yeah,
friendships.
same.
And I think that most are caused by like lack of love. I think it's lack of communication. You're in
Mm,
just different seasons of life, and eventually the communication stops, and one party doesn't reach out to the other, and the other party doesn't reach out to find out why. And there really was no why. Life just got busy, and the friendship just dissipated and no longer exists.
yeah. And I mean, I'll speak for my situation. I feel like that happened in my life a few different times because it was different seasons, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
whether it was because I moved from one state to another. And so a lot of the people that I had established relationship with in one state, I don't live there anymore. And
Yeah.
so it's really hard to stay in touch when I'm not in their immediate vicinity. So, um, I get it. And it's hard because there's just so many aspects of that that are hard, but I don't think you're right. Like I feel like in most ghosting situations, um, or maybe I should say that in my life and not assume other intent for other people, but I don't think that it was coming from a lack of love for the other person. I think it was just miscommunication and time went by really fast and all of a sudden it's been 10 years
Mm-hmm.
and here we are, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's nothing against them. It's just it happens.
Yeah. I think sometimes it happens from burnout. People just get burnt out, and then the burnout leaks over.
Mm,
I've definitely felt the effects in my own life of feeling burnt out, and people are reaching out and I'm not responding.
mm,
And then eventually they stop reaching out, and then you just kind of feel bad and you don't reach
mhm.
out after because you're kind of guilty or you feel
Yeah.
overwhelmed and a little shamed about it. So I think that that definitely plays a part. I think that avoiding conflict can play a part. You don't agree with
Mm.
something, whether it's choices or lifestyle or just a situation that happened between the two of you, but instead of addressing it, you avoid the conflict. That also always makes me question was there a lack of love there? Because if you truly love the person, would you pursue it to come to an even ground, right? So I don't know. I
Yeah, I
can't speak
think
for people, but
right. I think the avoiding conflict one is really big. And I wish that we could figure out a way to overcome it. Um,
Mhm.
because I've experienced this in my life and a lot of times people opt for avoiding the conflict because they don't like confrontation.
Mhm.
And I understand that. I don't think anybody does. I don't think I've met any person that's like, yeah, sign me up. I'll go for that confrontation. And if
Right.
that has happened, it's been very rare, right? Like, I
Mhm.
think as a universal statement, most people say, I hate conflict. But
Yeah.
what are we also losing when we don't address the conflict? Like, um, and I just, I've been thinking about this for a while now, and I haven't fleshed out all of the pieces of it, but like, is it really worth it to avoid conflict for like, let's say the sake of peace when now there's a great divide between you two and like the relationship has shifted? And if
Yeah.
you ask them, they say everything's fine. They're not
Mhm.
willing to share what it was that maybe offended them or is bothering them because they
Mhm.
don't want to talk about it. But like, also, how is that working?
Yeah. Yeah. I say this all the time at work, and I think it applies to friendship too. Like, you can't change what you don't know. And if you aren't willing to tell me what I did that was wrong, I also can't grow. as a person.
Right.
And so I believe that in every aspect of life, not just a career, but just anywhere.
Yeah.
Relationships, yeah, I think it's important.
And I think that we would all benefit. Like, am I gonna enjoy hearing you tell me like that you're upset with me? Absolutely not. Right? Like,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna enjoy that. But if
right.
we're working through the conversation, trying to find a common ground at the end of the day, I would much rather feel uncomfortable for 5 minutes than to not
Hmm.
have the relationship for the next 5 years.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I think we have to give them the opportunity to adjust expectations, right? Because the conflict came from a reason. So maybe we just didn't meet each other's expectations where we're at. So we just need to recalibrate that and
Right.
then come back together. And sometimes that does mean that the friendship isn't what it used to be because you've recalibrated on different levels. And that's okay too. But at
Mhm.
least you've had the conversation and now you know which way you're going.
Right. And
Yeah.
in the last few years, I've had more confrontational relationships than I had in all of my 20s. And that's probably because of growth, right?
Yeah.
um, but at the end of the day, I at least understood where I stand with the person,
Hmm.
or it fixed the problem.
Hmm.
And again, I'd rather have an uncomfortable 5-minute conversation to fix whatever's broken than to continue limping along on something that isn't working.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Um, we are wrapping up. The time is ticking for this episode. I feel like we could talk forever on this one. I think with capacity, one of my biggest takeaways is that sometimes you have to create new rhythm instead of trying to maintain old ones.
Mm,
If it's not working and it's not fitting into your bubble of capacity now, maybe it's because you need to adjust the rhythm that you're working at and figure out how you can maintain the things that are important to you and continue to make them a priority as you can without squeezing them in when you can,
mhm,
because people feel the effects of that. Relationships feel that. So you have to adjust your capacities or adjust your rhythm to your capacities.
mm. That's a good point. So we'll see you next week, and I hope you've enjoyed this series as much as we have, and tune in next time for more conversations with two main friends.
That's a wrap on this episode of Two Main Friends in a Podcast. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram. You can also send us an email at twomainfriends@gmail.com. And as always, leave us a review wherever you're listening.